Happy Friday, everyone. Here we are with our Total Traffic and Conversion crew, Betty Withrow, Roy Dickan, and our new addition, Joie Gharrity. And yeah, so, and our title today is Billboards Everywhere. And where this come from is I've been following billboards. I've got a wall drug billboard story that we're going to get to. But first, Joie, we were in a meeting with a client, and she was trying to explain how Hollywood blockbuster movies get the buzz happening using physical billboards. That, and maybe you can tell people a little bit about what you do, Joey, and tell your billboard story here.
Sure. So I worked for major studios down in the Hollywood entertainment business in Los Angeles. And then at my last that I did was for a major studio and did the first startup so that we could work with big brands and get content out there for them online. I've also been part of a few startups as well. But what I love about Hollywood is that they are not shy about letting you know when a project or a movie, for instance, is about to drop. And so one of my first experiences there, when I first moved there, I remember I was up on Highland and Sunset, and I was meeting some friends at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I was driving down Sunset, and it was like a billboard here, and a billboard there, a billboard there. And I mean, like every single corner, which is highly unusual, even in a major city, other than maybe New York City, and that would be Union Square, Times Square, excuse me. But so as I was going down there, I was driving down, I was like, by the time I got to Beverly Hills Hotel and sat down with my friends, guess what we were all talking about? The same billboard that we saw several times all the way down. And this is a way I explain in my trainings and with my clients in consulting is you want to do the same thing in regards to any project or even your brand is you want to be thinking about it in terms of billboards. And so if you see the billboard enough, let's just say it's Mission Impossible, right? And you see Mission Impossible over and over and over again, most likely by the time you hit lunch with good BFFs, you'll be talking about seeing Mission Impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, I created a little page here, and we've got one of these Mission Impossible signs on it. So that was so you saw something like that, right?
Oh yeah, like every corner. Yeah.
How frequent were they?
It's so frequent that it's really it's overwhelming almost. So last time I visited LA, I was down there and I was up on Hollywood Boulevard actually, over by the Man Chinese area, and I was heading down towards Highland again, heading towards Lucky Strike, the bowling alley, and it's been a minute because of COVID and everything from being down there, but it was overwhelming, right? How many billboards? There's billboards on buildings. There's billboards, at bus stops. There's billboards above you. It's billboards everywhere you look, essentially. And it's a way of advertising in the sky, but also too, converting about like, know, and trust and getting in people's minds and thinking about, or like an upcoming like series that's going to drop streaming would be there. And I'm like, oh, I didn't hear about that. Right. But you also have to remember too, it's about face recognition. Right. And so with every billboard, whether it would be a Mission Impossible or a new streaming show, they also have the star on that billboard. And so I talk a lot about this too in branding and marketing about making sure that you have your face recognition out there. So putting your headshot or a lifestyle shot on as many things as possible and using them over and over and over again. And just thinking about a billboard and your headshot, for instance, as people are threading, right, through social, think about it as the Sunset Boulevard example, right? They thread and then they see your headshot for face recognition. And so they're like, oh, Joey's got something to say, right? And you want to take it a step further. as you are walking into networking events, as you are walking into business opportunities, right? There will be times, if you are being consistent and you're doing this enough, right, where someone will walk up to you and they feel like they know you because they've seen your image so many times, and they'll walk up to you, oh my God, I know you, I see your posts all the time. And so the face recognition does work.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous, and
Yeah.
it's inescapable. So my billboard story is wall drugs. I somehow, with a lack of sanity, volunteered to take a brother-in-law's stuff to Chicago, and was driving along I-90, stopped off to see a cousin in Missoula, and he said, "You have to stop at Wall Drugs." And oh, what's that? Anyway, he says, well, you can't miss it. There's a sign about every 100 yards for 100 miles. And I collected some of the signs here. I'll just show you. And one sec here. Where are we at? So here's a bunch here. And it started with free ice water. That's how the very first sign was. But it's turned out to be this just amazing thing. And they've got all sorts of attractions. And they do have 5-cent coffee, which is kind of like the worst church coffee you've ever had. And anyway, inside the facility, they have a whole wall of photos that people have sent from all over the world, like people in Antarctic sort of holding up a sign, only 17,855 miles to Wall Drugs. And there's a documentary on PBS, and they showed an ad for Wall Drugs on the side of a trolley car in London, and apparently inside. And anyway, it's just really quite amazing. You can't help but stop after all that. Like you said, when you were driving, you couldn't help but talk about this movie that was coming up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think, this just my gig is, I think bragging's got a really bad rap. Like in Hollywood, I was mentored by high level mentors, and they were like, if we are not talking about our past accomplishments and what we worked on, we should be proud of that. I mean, we worked really hard for all this. I'm like, yeah. And so have business owners and entrepreneurs out there. And I'm telling them all the time, I said, talk about your accomplishments. And they're like, oh, well, that was last year. I said, I don't care if it was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
right? You should be proud of that, right? And so taking your past accomplishments with you and then pulling them forward, it also tells the marketplace that you didn't just drop out of Mars and you just didn't land here, that you have a really robust background. And people will also ask me, especially at my keynotes, will say things like, yeah, but I was a nurse before and now I'm a coach. And I'm like, so, but why would you leave being a nurse out? I mean, that means you're nurturing, right? That means that you have amazing communication skills and you actually care about other people, right? And so even if you don't think that your past and your present are going to connect the dots, that's not true. That is part of the journey of you collecting all these tools and strategies and techniques that you've been filling up your toolbox with, right? And pulling them forward with you, and then leading with that too. And then, because people are very curious about people's journeys, it keeps them curious, right? And so talking about your past is a good thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's part of the story. It's part of the attraction, part of all of that.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about it. We've been talking about physical billboards, but really, that's just sort of an analogy about kind of what we do at Total Traffic and Conversion, because we're putting up billboards everywhere. I didn't really think about it until you told the story to our client, right, about the billboards. And then, but that's what we are. Like, this is, in a way, this broadcast is a billboard. so,
Yeah.
so we're going live. People are watching, and hopefully, and then every blog post we do, everything we post on social media, YouTube videos, all that stuff, they're all kind of billboards for your personal story and your brand. And anyway, And we all have our own history and story here. That's what makes this team really valuable, is because we all bring a wealth of experience and a large toolkit to the whole adventure. So anyway, Roy, do you want to jump in, and do you have some comments here?
Yeah, this has really got me thinking about YouTube advertising and how, essentially the billboard could be when somebody goes on to watch a video, and the ad, which would be the person that we're trying to promote, would come out quickly, would be in the stream before the video actually starts. The beautiful thing about that is if somebody doesn't click on the ad, it's free. So we could have the image show up for a few seconds along with a message. Only worry about the first 5 seconds. Make sure that it counts, because that's free advertising on YouTube. This has really got me thinking. I'm so glad we're talking about this, because digital billboards are everywhere, and we can use them more often than we already are. This is totally great. Thank you, Joey, for bringing this up.
I love that idea. That's such a great idea, and we are moving in a time and a place now where we want this constant interaction to be happening, right? And so I just dropped a trailer for a media network that I founded, and I've been sharing the trailer everywhere. And I even shared it with the post. I do this thing called my weekly wrap up. It's my way of telling everyone, like, it's a billboard, right? But I added that today, and it was so much more fun and interesting, right? Because there's a moving component to it, plus the share, plus the post, plus, it doubles like a newsletter, right? But I'm sharing it across my social media every Friday, and I've been training the marketplace to be looking for it. And what I do too, which is I love spotlights, right, is I'm tagging people in there that have that we've crossed, that I was either on their show, or they were on my show, or we recently had a conversation. It's just a great way of being a service too, because people support those that support them. That's the way I feel. People are very supportive, but tagging other people, right, spotlighting them, and then using this visual component as a moving billboard, that's super exciting.
Yeah, the fact that there's movement involved is going to stop more people. It would work on Facebook as well. Even a post or an ad, either one. But also, you brought this thing up about the image. Yes, this is the way for people to get to know us without even watching a video, by just having it come through the stream on Facebook. So this is exciting stuff. This has got me thinking in a lot of directions that I probably thought a little bit about, but now I can hone in on it.
Yeah.
This is super.
Yeah, the other thing out of the movie industry is the trailer, right? The little short introduction to a movie coming up, that in some cases, that's the only thing that's ever been shot is the trailer. But so and that's you can see that everywhere too. Like you mentioned Times Square. I was in Hong Kong, and they had video signs everywhere, and they've got that motion thing happening. It's just stuff changing, stuff happening on the video displays. And Betty, do you want to throw in some comments here? What do you have? What's your
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, the billboard story brought up when I went to Florida with my folks as a kid, and everywhere all along the seaboard, you'd see Burma Shave jingles all the way, and you'd be like, "Where's the next sign? Where's the next sign?" And then finally it would say Burma Shave, and you're like, "Okay, when's the next poem?" Now I like love poetry and everything, so it really worked for me, and it certainly kept me interested. I was not going to be shaving or anything like that, but it didn't matter in that context. But getting to now and the social media part of things. Oh, did I disappear?
No, you're here.
No, you're still here. Yeah.
We can see you.
Your connection isn't that great, but you're here.
No invisibility, no invisibility cloak on you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so somebody who I know and respect and I want to invite on this show, who is the social media maven, says that just when you think that you've oversaturated your audience, double what you're doing. Yeah. Because you think that they've seen your posts at 2 and they probably haven't seen them at all yet. So, you know, you cannot overdo it, as in your example, Joey, of the, you know, everywhere you look, there's a message for you. That's what modern perception is like. And because we're so hammered with stimulus all the time, people become numb to it all. So, but there's two things. They get numb to it, and then they also go for the familiar. So you want to be the familiar, not the one that they're numb to. And that involves having things move around, either visually or in concept, you know, like, okay, so you told me that 5,000 times. What else do you have to offer? And then offer them that too. They see that you've got an integrated approach, as we do. And as I said in a networking meeting this morning, knock off false modesty. It's not helpful. So, you know, just get up and say your piece and be proud of what you have accomplished, as he was pointing out, because that's how people learn to understand your value and want to get to know you and possibly do business with you. So don't hold back on that one.
Yeah.
That's true.
You answer the question for them. Why are you the best choice?
Right.
Yeah.
The clear choice.
The clear choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, and also too, I think like part of this too is like have a two-way conversation, right? Ask questions, like, you know, like be interesting, get the curiosity up. Like I said, if you did something in your background that you were something before, let's just say you were an engineer, it doesn't matter, right? And now you're a keynote speaker, let's just say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like talk about that, because that's curiosity. People are like, oh, how did you go from that to this? And what is this all about you? So part of a billboard is making people think, stopping and making them think, right? Or laugh, or be curious, be interesting. You know, we all know the Got Milk, right? That was genius. It was genius, right? Because it was Got Milk with a question mark, right? And so what it did, and we saw those billboards everywhere, right? We see those commercials everywhere. And what it did is it made people think, like, what's this about? And why are they asking Got Milk when it first rolled out, right? Now it's just commonplace. We all know the brand, we all know the marketing around that brand very, very well, right? But making people think out there as they're scrolling, as you're populating your billboards out there. I like questions. I like asking people questions. It's more exciting. And then I also like to talk about my journey, right? The ups and the downs, not just everything's rainbows and butterflies, because that's not the case. That's not being authentic, right? I just recently dropped an article in the Zebra Ink magazine, and it was about my healing journey around my dad's passing and how he sent me a sign. My dad loved baseball. That was his thing, like sports fanatic, right? But he would always say, Joey, like hit it out of the park. Like that was my dad's thing, right? And so anyways, but I dropped this because, and it was very vulnerable. It was a very vulnerable share of mine, right? Because I'm also like to be private, right? But I did it because I wanted other people to know that they're not alone on this journey. And so, so that article means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to people out there too. But the point being is be multi-layered when you're sharing out there, right? You know, share your journey, be curious, get people's curiosities up, right? Ask people questions, right? Make sure that your headshot or lifestyle shots are out there too, right? You know, make sure that you're being interesting and give value. Give value. Give people, share your expertise with people. Just do it, right? They could Google it anyways. So might as well just share it.
Just do it. That sounds familiar.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's fabulous, Joey. So we're really happy to have you join our team here. Just
Yeah.
because you do bring in a whole new dimension to what we were doing. We offered a lot before, but
Yes.
now with you we can offer even more.
We can
And
hit it out of the park.
hit it out of the park. And
Thank
so I guess our invitation to people is we do talking about asking questions and talking with people. So that's kind of how we start this whole process. If you think you want to have a better presence online, do have rise your star in whatever way it is, book an appointment, have a conversation with us, and we'll take a look at where you're at and where you want to go, and we'll offer some pathways and including some things that may surprise you, because we were talking about our client who wasn't really quite ready to go where Joey wanted him to go, and now he says, "Oh yeah, that's the way I got to go."
Yeah,
Right.
it's really exciting, because what happens is when you see the possibilities of joining in with a team like this, the vision of what your life can be and what your legacy can be can expand exponentially, and that's what we want for the people we work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We want people to gain, we
Yeah.
want people to gain more buzz. We want people,
More
we
buzz.
want it, and we all want it to be easier on them too, right?
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
you're dropping a book or you have a new product or an app or whatever it is, right? It shouldn't be uphill. There should be some ease, and it
Yeah.
should be fun.
Fun.
Yeah, right? It should be fun.
Yay!
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It should
We're
be fun. It
fun.
doesn't have to be arduous. You're not pushing the ball up the hill and then getting run over by it. That's our motto, is we have to have fun, and that's you're gonna attract people to you and your brand and your products by having some fun, really. So that's what you get when you come and work with us.
Yeah, we're fun.
That's a really good point. If you're trying to do everything yourself, it is going to be arduous.
Yeah.
It's so much better to work with other people, especially if they've been there before to where you want to go. It's like climbing Mount Everest. To do it by yourself is pretty tough. You need a guide. Well, you've got 4 guides here, so
yeah,
we can help you in many ways.
Yeah.
In many ways you probably haven't even thought of.
Yeah. That's true though, because as everyone brings their toolbox with them, right? You're looking above the project. We're too close to our own brands. That's what happens after a while. You get so
Yeah.
close to your own brand that you can't see past the woods sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you need that kind of consulting, sometimes mentorship, right? To get you on the other side, and you're like, oh, because there's gonna be next levels. There's just gonna be a next level to go next, right? It was really interesting. I saw a speaker. She has climbed Mount Everest 3 times, and she was so interesting. When I saw her, I had so many aha moments watching her, because what she revealed to us is, you would think climbing Mount Everest once, you would kind of know the playbook, right? That's not true at all. She was saying that each time it was a completely different experience than the time before. And that was so mind-blowing when I saw her keynote about this. The other thing too that she was so interesting about is that she was relating it to business, and how, as you go the next level, what you learn then, and then you have to come back down to base camp. You have to do that every single time when you climb Mount Everest, because it's a way where you have to get your body used to the next level. And isn't that just like business? I was like, oh my God. It's so brilliant. I thought that was so brilliant, but that's so true because it's so uncomfortable to go the next level.
Yeah.
And you have to acclimate to it, right? You have to acclimate, and then you go the next level. And even though you think you've been there, right, it's going to look different. It's just going to look different. But that's what's so exciting about it.
And that's part of the fun too. If you got the magic formula and everything just worked out perfectly all the time, you'd be bored. You want to go do something else.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a constant challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the way technology changes and all the opportunities or downsides you have. If you don't use it, there's a lot of downsides. If you do use it, there can be a lot of upsides. But it's changing continually, and we're talking about almost daily at this point. So it's very hard for one person to keep up with all that.
Yeah, it really does take a village. I mean, in Hollywood, everyone thinks the director is the most important person, and they are, right? In essence, right? Because they're directing the tribe. But it takes countless people, right, with all these different gifts and talents to take one person's vision across the finish line. And there just can't be lone wolf behavior there. It won't work. That's why it's $1 billion business, right? But what's so interesting too that I found that was super interesting is I was in a lot of editing rooms. And so where, again, you get so close to your vision. So even the director, and people, the crew would get really close to the brand, right? But when you sat in the editing room, which was a fresh perspective, you were able to see these different other gems and diamonds that could be pulled out and created by editing the piece for someone else's perspective and through their gifts and talents. And so fast forward, the outcome, a lot of the crew members wouldn't see the movie until the crew premiere. And you would sit there and you now having this, now being over here in a seat or today streaming, right? It's incredible the magic that will happen because you've allowed other people's talents and gifts to show up at different times of the project.
Yeah, along those lines, I watch credits to the end. I sit there and watch the credits to the end, and you get something like Mission Impossible, where there's like maybe 2,000 names on the credits. You're not. It's not a small team that builds those things.
No, it's not. And I remember the first time I saw my name in credits and how it takes your breath away in some ways, because that is the only industry I know of that actually gives everyone a legacy credit of saying thank you, no matter what part you played in the whole scenario, you get a credit, and it is there forever for your lifetime, right? And so it was really incredible. I got to snuck out of work and met my brother. He worked on the crew, and we sat there in the movie theater and we saw our lights and our name in lights, and it's exciting. It's exciting, but to me, that's what social media is today, though, right? It has the same ability. Like there was a time when you had to ask permission, like you had to go through, like, right, ask Hollywood or ask a corporation. But now you don't have to ask permission anymore. You literally get to see your name in lights every single day if you're courageous enough, right? If you step into your spotlight and that you're sharing out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's easier than ever.
It is. It's so exciting.
And it's not expensive. Basically, you could broadcast. All you need is a phone and an internet connection, really, and a Facebook account or LinkedIn or something. So
yeah. Well, I'd like to add something on the teamwork aspect of things. Being branded as the writer launchpad, one of the things I like to tell people is that nobody ever launched a rocket all by themselves. By the time somebody is up there in the top being payload, first of all, they've gone through some very extremely rigorous experiences, and they've had the support of thousands of people building the technologies, testing the processes, and so on. So it's teamwork that makes these amazing moments happen.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all team.
Yeah, absolutely. Teamwork. So again, the call is if you're interested in talking with our team about your project and where you want to go, what's your Mount Everest that you want to climb, we can help you climb that. I'm not sure exactly what mountain that is. It's got a pathway.
Too,
you can see there's a little stone pathway.
That's neat.
Yeah. I'm suspecting somewhere in Switzerland, somewhere in Europe.
Oh yeah, I love Europe. Yeah, it's pretty, and I like the flowers.
Yep. Yeah,
oh, that's pretty.
There's some places in British Columbia that this could be with the heathers and things, but we don't get around to making stone pathways, so I don't think it's in British Columbia.
I don't think that pathway goes all the way up, though.
No, but there's probably been people who have gone all the way up.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. Pathway will get you to the base of that mountain.
Yeah.
And then the fun begins.
I have a climbing story. I went for a hike. I just thought I was going for a hike with a friend, just go to a place that's called Black Tusk. It's near Whistler in British Columbia. And it's a very distinctive volcanic thing. And it's got a chimney going up. Anyway, my friend who's a climber, he says, well, let's climb it. What? I got steel-toed work boots. Not really prepared, don't know anything about it. Anyway, so he talks me up to get to the top of this thing. I got some great photos. And then he says, yeah, I probably should have mentioned it's probably 10 times harder to get down than it is to get up. And so I says, well, what would happen if I'd fall? And he says, well, let's see, about 60-foot straight fall until you hit the scree slope, and then you'd roll for about another 200 feet. He says, you probably wouldn't die, but it'd be really sore. I don't advise it. And then he says, that repelling rope that I have in the tent would be really handy at this point.
But
I made it down okay, but it was I wasn't really planning that adventure.
That was exhilarating.
Makes a better story than an experience, like so many things,
Yeah, I'd probably do it again, but anyway.
You might not wear the same boots, though.
The way down is harder. I've climbed a few volcanoes myself, and it's harder going downhill by far.
Yeah.
You got to watch that. Yeah.
It's probably that way with Everest, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah, what's interesting about it is that they only let you sit at the very, very peak for exactly 60 seconds. I think it was a minute, and you get timed.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to start heading down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all that work just for that, but it's that because you could touch the clouds, like it's like right there, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you were saying
they're
that
not below you.
Yeah. So you were saying that that person had climbed it 3 times and everyone was a different experience. I would say up there every hour is a different experience because the weather changes all the time. The situation, who you're with changes. Probably the headspace you're in changes.
Yeah. She actually said the 3rd time was the hardest because of her headspace.
Yeah.
Right. The first time, because what was going on for her personally too.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, what's going on for you personally is a direct alignment with what the essence where your vibration is out there. Right. So that would make total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife Bonnie says her story. She threw herself out of a perfectly good airplane twice, right? And the first time was much more enjoyable than the second time. The second time is the thought passed her head, "What am I doing?"
right?
You should have known better, right?
Right?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's best not to think about these things. Just go.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Those are the most ones that,
You're walking into, right? It's the same thing with. I think that's. I've heard that, and that's such a life lesson, right? If you really knew what was in front of you, would you still go?
Hmm.
You know, probably
Yeah.
not.
right.
That could
Yeah,
be said
you
about
probably end up
starting a
trying to be
business.
sensible or something, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's good.
Okay.
Good just to venture forth.
Just go for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So I guess maybe we should just reiterate we're here. We all of us. You can get a hold of us. We're all on LinkedIn. We're all almost everywhere in
Yeah.
social media. And if you go to totaltrafficandconversion.com, there's an article related to this broadcast today, and I'm going to put this broadcast on it later. And then. And if you want to make an appointment with us, just tell us what your Mount Everest is, what your journey is, and you can tell us what you're scared about too. I want to make this journey, but I don't know either. I don't know how to get there, or I'm a little bit reluctant to start the journey. like Bilbo Baggins. You get him out of his hobbit house, and
Right.
yeah. So we're here to have fun with you and encourage you, and we'll help create a roadmap for your success, and we'll have some fun on the journey.
Yeah.
That's the way.
So I guess we could play our little video again
Let's do it.
and let everybody
Sure.
have their Friday back. So
Yay! Thanks for watching, people.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
everyone.
okay,
Have a great Friday.
Friday.
Happy Friday.